Testosterone is a nice kind of shot in the arm of motivation. I've pretty much instantly gained about 30 pounds.
How did it feel to get on test?
And again, you don't need a lot. I think one of the dangers is that
Why not do more? Is there a reason to get off if you get off?
All right, guys, we're rolling.
Rolling.
Did I tell you guys I had a dream about Jay Cutler a while back?
Did you?
Like another one? Or
No, well, yeah, there might have been more than one. No, there was one like probably maybe like 6 months ago. And he like wanted to do a bodybuilding show. And he was like in here and he's taking his shirt off and he's like flexing and stuff. And I remember telling him, I was like, I don't think you should do it, you know? And he was like kind of getting mad at me. It was really weird.
So this wasn't young Jay Cutler. This was old Jay Cutler.
Yeah, this was like now. And I was like, you look amazing, but you know, you're a 4-time Mr. Olympia. Like, I think, you know, you did so well. Like you should leave it the way that it was. Like
Tom Brady's not going to go to the XFL to win.
Yeah,
right?
Don't come back. You know, it was really funny, and he was like getting mad at me about it. It was hilarious. Anyway, I don't know if you guys saw recently, but he took his shirt off and he's like flexing and he's talking about getting in shape at 50. So I'm like, my dream is coming true.
I didn't end up watching that video, but it's like, you remember when Kevin Levrone came back?
Yeah.
Initially, I was like, whoa, that'd be interesting because Kevin Levrone, like, he was a hyper responder to everything, apparently. Like, apparently when he was younger, before a show would be like maybe 3 months, right? And they'd be like, I'm going to do that show. And he'd look okay. But then 3 months later, he's like show ready. He'd like pack on a hella muscle. That's insane. That's crazy.
Yeah.
You know?
A lot of guys came back, but it's hard. You know, it's hard to get that same look. And I don't think Jay Cutler's thinking about coming back. I think he just wants to be in shape at 50. But the video was funny because the guy's like, how much shit is he gonna take to get in shape? Like, who knows? Who cares? Jay Cutler's amazing.
He's the best.
One of the GOATs.
Yeah. How much shit he's going to take to get in shape.
What was up with that video that you sent us with that kid benching 600 pounds?
I don't understand. Yeah, you should pull that. It's okay. So this channel is Lifters Club. It's similar to a lifting vault, same vibe, same type of voice. But this 21-year-old kid benches 600 pounds.
Dude, hold on. This guy's 21?
Yeah, he's 21. His face looks young. Like, even though his body doesn't look young, his face looks
the
youthful.
development.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, he's got a young face. I'm just like, holy shit, dude. Like when he's
right.
Looks like a baby with like fake arms.
Like a cartoon.
Yeah. Sorry, dude. I wonder. Kind of mean, but it's fucking. It's insane. Like it looks fake to me.
Yeah.
I wonder what his background is. I wonder if he has like some sort of gymnastics background or something, like to build that kind of upper body strength at such a young age, or has he just always like lifted?
Yeah, traps are as big as my head.
Yeah,
that's fucking wild.
For everyone that's listening, sorry, you're gonna have to come to the YouTube side.
He's just hammering these weights. He just did 135, 225, now 315, and he's just absolutely demolishing them. He's really explosive. One thing that you'll notice from this lifter is that he accelerates quite a bit as he goes down towards the chest. He does something that a lot of lifters don't do. He holds the weight at the top for a while before he starts, and he even does that with 605, which is right here. But he does drop the weight down fast, and then some people might think, oh, he's bouncing the weight, but he's not doing this in competition. This is just him training, and I'm sure if he wants to compete, he'll probably be able to handle the pause that they make you do when you bench press in a competition.
On his Instagram, which is Dimitri, Dimitri 4_265, he benched 405 14 times.
Whoa.
That's a lot. This dude is stupid strong.
It's amazing. The strength levels of some of the men and women. I think I saw a girl the other day deadlift 600, and it was just like, just a training lift, and just did it easy. And I'm just like, holy fuck, man. People are getting strong out there.
Very early. Yeah.
Dude, yeah, go follow this guy. Holy shit, he only has 7,000 followers. Let's make that like 20.
Yeah, go check him out.
God damn.
I've been developing some white woman habits. My girlfriend has been watching this podcast called I've Had It, right? It's these two older white women that are talking about things that they've had it with. Like
this really grinds my gears.
But you know what? White women really be saying, I've had it with this. You know what I mean? Like that's a white woman thing to say.
I'm tired of coming to this place. The white wine sucks.
I've had
it. Sauvignon Blanc sucks.
Exactly. But recently I've gotten into kombucha.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The brand Synergy, actually, the calories are really solid. Like you know those like big fucking big bottles of it? It's only, I think, 200 calories.
Damn.
Right? Compare that to like the juice that I drink that's like, 800 calories. Like this is a bang for the buck, and I'm getting probiotics.
This is a really, really good substitution for sure.
But to class things up a little bit, what I do, I told you I don't drink alcohol in the evening, and I don't drink much wine anyway. So maybe early afternoon, on a day I'm just chilling, I'll put a tiny bit of wine, right? Tiny bit of wine.
Brunch hour?
Tiny bit of wine, and then kombucha it up in a wine glass.
I could picture like Nsima at jiu-jitsu, like one day, like in the future, with like a martini glass, looking like fucking Leonardo DiCaprio, just like stirring it a little bit and then sipping it and then going and killing people every once in a while.
But I'm drinking kombucha, man.
People are like, who the fuck's that guy? Like,
what's funny is like he's already in a robe technically, so he's just sitting there in his origin gi in a robe.
Yeah, and
drinking martini.
And he poured his kombucha into a martini glass just to even spruce it up even more.
Dude, I will say for the past few days, like shit, like poop's been really nice. Like even better than it usually is.
Maybe you can be a spokesperson for these people.
The only change has been a little bit of the booch, a little bit of kombucha, So try your hand at kombucha, but get the calorie healthy kombucha.
Sometimes it does have a little bit of alcohol in it, right? But it's like not.
It's like some tiny percent. Yeah,
tiny. But if you drink enough of it, you'll feel it.
You get a little buzz going.
You'll feel a little buzz. I've drank like too much in a day. I was like, am I tipsy?
Oh no,
this isn't bad.
Just because it's just all fermented, right? Is that why? Okay,
yeah, I think that's why.
Yeah, we also saw that Bert Kriescher was talking about getting on some testosterone, and I think that could be the topic for today. We'll kind of dive into this. Let's play this clip and check it out.
It's from the Flagrant Poopcast.
Bert Kriescher. Here we go.
I mean, stop acting like you're health conscious, Bert.
No, he wants to get drunk.
I'm fucking healthy as shit right now. I'm on steroids.
Are you on the
fucking juice? Feel my arm.
Which juice? We're trying to get on juice on the pod too.
Yeah?
Akash getting on peptides.
Is it orange
juice?
Yeah, I'm on tea.
I'm waiting on my shipment.
Wait, are you on testosterone?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Really?
How you feel?
Fucking amazing.
Does it allow you to smell things that don't exist?
No. But hang on. You did not smell. I smelled it the second she walked in the room. I smelled them.
Well, you also saw them.
No, I know, but the smell is what bothers me.
Talking about balloons.
The smell, the touching, and their unpredictability. They're never
unpredictability.
As soon as you do that, as soon as you inflate that thing, then all of a sudden it has the possibility to explode like a drunk alcoholic father. Just like
now we're
slap
getting
you at any time.
Now we're getting there.
For my 49th birthday, Rosebud Baker was on tour with us, and she thought it would be a good idea. These idiots thought it would be a good idea to fill my bunk with balloons to surprise me.
She didn't know you were afraid of them.
She didn't know I was afraid of them. And the fucking, I came in and I fucking melted down. And this is my tour bus, and it was my bunk. It was my bunk. Dude, I've had this happen so many times. On my 40th birthday, I was in Australia, and the Board of Tourism wanted to surprise me, so they put they filled my entire room with balloons, my entire fucking room. Jesus. And so I was like, I had nowhere to put them because it's in a hotel room. Yeah. So and now I come home drunk, and I'm in my room's filled with balloons, and I'm fucking melting down. And I call my wife, and I go, I need to. I was like, I don't know what to do. And she goes, just have another drink and pass out. You'll be fine. Just put them on the roof. You'll be fine in your bedroom. I couldn't get, and then in the middle of the night, the helium on all of them died at the exact same time. And in the middle of the night, every balloon in the room landed on me in the bed.
That's a nightmare.
Pause this here.
I lost it so fucking bad.
Yeah. So he has a phobia of balloons and clowns. Like he hates clowns, and he absolutely hates balloons.
Yeah, clowns. Yeah, it makes sense.
But isn't that an interesting phobia? Balloons.
But the way he put it does make sense. Yeah. You don't know what's going to explode like an alcoholic father.
I think I told you guys this before. My kids used to fight over balloons all the time. And then we had no balloons. Like they couldn't have a balloon, and people would buy them for birthdays and stuff. And I'd always have to figure out a way to stab the balloon and fucking throw it in the garbage.
Wait, before we get into the pod, because we're going to get like, guys, testosterone, there's a lot of things to talk about here. But do you guys have any like phobias? Like what do you think is your top weirdest phobia?
I think everyone's a little bit scared of clowns, right?
Yeah.
Like
not clowns.
They're a little creepy.
I have a legit one that's making my hand shake right now just thinking about it. The trypophobia.
I knew you were going to say trypophobia. That shit already made me itch.
That's gross.
I don't like that.
I don't love elevators. If I have an option to use stairs, I'll use the stairs.
Is it the idea that you could get stuck?
Yes.
That's legitimate, though.
I hear people get stuck in there all the time. Like people are like, oh, I got stuck for like 10 minutes. I'm like, how the fuck do you deal with that? That sucks.
Yeah. I think everybody, I mean, except for the dudes that are like hanging off the sides of buildings just to be like, hey, look at me, I could do this with one hand. I think everybody's pretty much kind of afraid of heights. Like I don't know.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you guys, if you use this against me, I will never be friends with either of you. I will fucking destroy you if you do this to me. I'm just telling you right now, because I'm telling you guys this kind of in confidence, but also it's a show. So do not fuck with me when it comes to this. When I was a kid, I read Goosebumps and I saw Slappy the Dummy.
Oh, yes.
So there are two fears that I have that, again,
I remember
don't
now.
fuck with me. There's no surprise on the podcast where you fuck with me and do this. I'm scared of ventriloquist dummies.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
They're terrifying.
I'm like, I will not be in a room with one. If it's in a room, I'm leaving. If I sense it, if I see it, if it comes to me, I'm leaving. And I'm also very scared of like Chucky dolls. I saw Child's Play as a kid and it scarred me. So like
Chucky, he slices your fucking Achilles tendon.
Yeah.
Under the bed.
Me and my girl went to this like Cirque de whatever show recently. It was a scary one here in Sacramento. And what they were doing is they wanted people to take pictures, and they had this little Chucky doll and they were handing it to people in the crowd. And as they were coming by, they're giving it to everyone. I just walked out. I was just like,
I'm good.
Yeah. So she took a picture alone with it.
Damn. So then Toy Story 4, they were like the henchmen. Was it like the dummies? Did you get through that?
I watched it.
Yeah.
It made me uncomfortable, but I watched it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, childhood stuff. I never liked. Freddy from Friday the 13th. That motherfucker. You know, you couldn't get away from him.
Yeah.
Because everyone needs to sleep, and that's where he showed up. Was in your fucking nightmares.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nightmare on Elm Street. That always disturbed the fuck out of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, I hated that.
Yeah, that sucks.
Anyway, that's a great clip. I think Bert is so funny when he's like explaining stuff. I've heard him on other podcasts before, and his Netflix special, by the way, if people haven't checked that out, make sure you check it out. He did a great job with that.
Razzle dazzle.
He one of the things he's describing, like he'll say stuff in conversation where you're like, what? Like we have to go back and talk about that. And he talked about getting struck by lightning. And he just it's just rattling off. He's just talking to regular conversation. He's like, yeah. He's like, that happened around the time I got struck by lightning. The guy's like, you got struck by lightning? He goes, yeah, twice. And he just keeps trying to carry on the conversation. And then he's like, they're like, no, you have to tell us about getting struck by lightning. It's just amazing. I think people like that are so fun and funny.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't even realize how maybe he does. I don't even know if he knows how funny it is, but it's like it's hilarious just to kind of like mention that in passing.
Yeah, like also like I will like listening to Joey Diaz tell a story when he's like, I don't know how many times he's been on Joe Rogan, but let's just say 20 times. I don't know. He'll tell a story like the 19th time that I would be like, I would open with that literally every time I spoke to anybody. I'm like, how the fuck do you have these crazy stories? And he just is like, not even laughing about it or like not even considering how crazy it sounds. And I'm just like, damn, I got to be more interesting. Like, this isn't like, I'm just normal.
Man's had a crazy fucking life.
Yeah.
Crazy fucking life. But testosterone's getting super popular, man. Like, a lot of people, and sans the young guys getting on tests, like a lot of people are starting to get on testosterone to help their well-being so that they can feel better, feel stronger, have more sex. You know, we had Andrew Huberman who came on the podcast and talked about it. Everyone wants more testosterone, but it's good. But you gotta think about it. You were mentioning some things in the gym that's like important to understand. Actually, I want to ask both of you guys this, if you remember. How did it feel to get on test? If like what changed if
I'll let
anything?
Andrew start on that.
Yeah. I remember getting my labs done years ago before any of this. And I remember actually I was talking to Marcus Filipino Thunder about it. And I was like, hey, my test is at like 350 or whatever. And he's like, well, you know, it's low range for sure, but like you're not like totally tanked. And we were just talking about testosterone. And this is why I used this verbiage when we were talking about it. But he was like, don't you want to feel like more of a man? And I was like, well, yeah, but like I don't even know what the fuck that means, you know? So when I initially started taking TRT, I started with the traditional dose that a lot of people get recommended, which is 200 milligrams per week. That's kind of almost like base, and then you adjust from there.
Yeah.
It was weird because I never thought that I had like a low libido, but holy shit, when I got on that, I felt like the hunger was through the roof for sex. Like, and I told my wife about it. I'm like, hey, I'm hearing that like I need to let you know that I might just really be more in need.
You might start getting a little sore.
Yeah. And
Especially hogging around what you are.
you guys are funny. But
You know it's true.
dude,
That's why his back's always
Exactly.
He's just like lugging that fucking thing.
dude, I'm telling you, we're gonna be on a road trip and you guys are gonna be like, oh.
Neither one of you guys could ever disappoint me with anything, just so you know. I love both of you.
Love you too, Mark.
I feel more confident then. But no, okay, so I was kind of going on a tangent about the sex thing, but no, I did feel more like a man.
Okay.
As Mark knows, like when I first met him, I was extremely timid. You know, I was hiding behind the camera at all times. If I had to speak up, it was like a very hard, difficult thing to do. Like it was like nerve wracking. Like God, like I have to tell Mark that shot didn't work out. We got to do it again or something. Like it would be a thing that was constantly running through my mind that I just would have to eventually work out. And then hanging out with Mark so much that I started to break out of my shell. So it was already happening. So you could say that this is like, oh, this is just a period of time where I'm like developing better people skills or whatever it may be. But as soon as I got on test, like I was more assertive. I was more aggressive for the things that I wanted. So like if I needed a shot or something, I would just call for it. I would just yell for it. I wouldn't be like, hey guys, is it cool if we do X, Y, and Z? Just like, we need to do this. Let's go.
I remember we do photo shoots and stuff, and you would just place people in certain spots and say, hey, you know, be here and do this and turn this way.
Yeah.
Hey, talent, get in line.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think a lot of times maybe people don't realize that, like a lot of people need someone to kind of lead, because otherwise you're like, I'm not really, like we don't have models that are like professional. We got people that are just, that look good from the gym, and you got to kind of pose them, right?
Yeah. And that's always the most difficult thing is like, especially somebody who has no experience, who doesn't understand like shift this way, shift that way. They're just like, do you mean like this? I'm like, not even close. It's going to be like this. So that was definitely it. And then, you know, I'm doing jiu-jitsu now. I'm lifting on a regular basis. These things are very difficult at times, right? I now am like super more pumped to do those things because it makes me feel good. I don't know for sure if I'd be able to do that without tests, is just because saying like the whole, you're more motivated to do difficult things.
Yeah.
Not that I wasn't doing difficult things before, but I wasn't doing jiu-jitsu. That's for damn sure. And there was always the conversation in my head, like, do I really have to go to the gym today? You know, like I still would have that time of like from waking up to getting out of the door. It was like, like, so I still did it. Right. So
how long's it been now, by the way? Like how many years?
Like, I think it would be safe to say 2 years.
2 years.
Or no. Sorry, I'm trying to think when my son was born. So a little bit less than 2 years that I've been on stuff.
Okay.
And before that, you know, I did SARM, so I was on like the pellets of testosterone for a little bit, which was like the first experience. But the injectables are way better in my opinion. I felt them way more.
Okay.
Despite the pellets being like a high dose, like a high ride all the way through, I think doing injectables is a little bit better. I just, like I said, I felt it way better. And so for me, the muscle development and that sort of thing, the strength gains are great, but the recovery, like I said, the mental, like the confidence side of things, and like the drive in all aspects, right? Sex drive to do hard things, drive to go after what you want, drive to be more assertive. That's been like huge. Like literally like more of a man is kind of what it feels like every time I inject. And it could be a mental thing. It could be a maturity thing. It could be a time thing, right? Where it's like, oh, I've been doing hard things for a long time now. Maybe I'm just getting better at it. But man, I seriously felt that dial get turned up quite a bit once I started injecting. I didn't feel it not so much with the pellets. I did feel the sex drive boost with the pellets, but everything else was kind of more mellow versus injecting where now it's like, oh shit, like everything feels good.
The impact for me is just, it's my own individual story. It's my own individual experience. I was already way into lifting. I've already been lifting for a long time. I started lifting around 11, 12 years old. Probably got kind of serious about lifting at like 14, 15, which is really early. It wasn't until I was about 25 when I started to take testosterone. I was already pretty big. I was already built decently, 210 pounds or so. Whenever I'd try to lean out, I would get a little skinnier than I'd like. This is when I was natural. And I would be like 200 and it just didn't look right to me. And then I'd try to like bulk up and then I would be like 220 and it just looked too fat to me. So I couldn't, I kind of had the problem, which a lot of people have now, is they won't really commit to the bulk because they're too uncomfortable being a little chubby for a little while. And they won't commit to the cut because they just get weaker sometimes. So anyway, that was that with that stuff. But when I took testosterone, it had a really profound impact immediately because I was already training. I was already training hard. I was already into powerlifting. I was already fairly strong, but it just amplified everything. It just boosted everything up. There really wasn't much of like a waiting period. It was like I took stuff and then I was able just to handle more pretty quickly. And so that's what led to the gains happening so quickly. Yeah. Now, one of the first things, the other thing to keep in mind here is that this was not TRT. This was not HRT. This was doing a steroid cycle. This is what I did. That's why I'm trying to say that my experience is going to be different and it's probably amplified, but I pretty much instantly gained about 30 pounds.
When you say instantly, how long did that shit take?
Just a couple of months. Just a couple of months. I mean, it was like, at least that's what it felt like. Maybe if I was to look back and really know, maybe it was longer, but I'm just thinking like 6-8 months or so. And I remember, so I traveled, this is when I lived in Columbus, Ohio, and I traveled to Louisville, Kentucky here and there to wrestle for Ohio Valley Wrestling, which was the kind of startup league for WWE. Yeah. And I remember I took some stuff because I wanted to try to like even the playing field a little bit. Almost a large majority of the people I was around, they were either on shit or they were talented in some other way where they could end up making it big in pro wrestling. And maybe some of those guys didn't need it, but I kind of felt like I did. I was like, I don't really stand out enough. I'm not like athletic enough or talented enough necessarily to really shine. I'm okay on the microphone type stuff and things like that. But yeah, I was like, I think I need to be a little bit bigger. I think it'll be helpful. I'm also not 6'5". So I was like, I think this is going to help. And then also I've always loved powerlifting. I was training at Westside Barbell. Most of the guys there were on steroids too. Yeah, there's a shot right there. And so I went from...
and that was right after you hopped on.
I went from being like about 210 to about 235, 240 range. Okay. Very, very quickly. Now, one thing that happened is you can see in that picture, my face is still kind of lean, but around this time is when my face got really like bloated too, because I didn't really know what I was doing. And I was probably taking too much. Like just get advice from the guys at the gym and get advice from the fucking, get advice from a thread or whatever, you need 600 milligrams of this and 400 milligrams of that. It's like, it was probably way too much. But anyway, that's some of my experience. On the left there, I'm actually natural, but
still had good traps, still had good shoulders.
Yep. That's at like 19 or 21 or something like that.
Wow. Yeah. So that's That's really cool, first off, because you took a while before you hopped on tests, but you already had the habit of lifting. You probably had decent, nutrition. You were just eating a lot to get big. So, I mean, you were doing what you do when you're young to grow. But a lot of things that you see is there's a lot of benefits to hopping on TRT. And no, I'm not on TRT. Some of y'all think I'm lying about it, but whatever. But what do you guys think happens when somebody is like, okay, you know what? I want to move the needle. I want to become more of a man. You feel more aggressive. You want to have more sex. You want to do harder things, right? But you don't have the right habits set in. It seems like you could hop on test. Your test will go up potentially to normal or super physiological levels. But then as maybe you're growing and you're doing more, maybe you still have bad eating habits. Maybe you're not getting enough sleep. That could seem like an equation to maybe become more unhealthy.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things at play here. So if you go and you get your blood work done and it's pretty clear that your testosterone levels are very low,
yeah,
you have a larger mountain to climb because it's going to be harder for you to be as motivated as someone with normal or healthy testosterone levels. So testosterone is a nice kind of shot in the arm of motivation. It'll give you like a nice boost, which, and again, you don't need a lot for that to take place. This would be TRT dosages. This would be, recommended by the doctor. This would be 100 milligrams, maybe 200 milligrams on the higher end. It's not a steroid cycle that someone would be like blasting, right? And you're going to gain some weight off of this. You're going to gain some muscle mass. You're going to gain some strength. But the main thing that you're going to gain is over a period of time, maybe it takes about 2-3 weeks for it to kind of settle in. You're going to feel a little bit more motivated. The stuff that you do, every time you put in the effort with that, as Huberman has said before, it will help to motivate you even further every time you put effort in. So you go to do a set of like lat pull downs and you just put a little extra on it. Just like if someone was coaching you. Just if someone said, hey man, come on, 5 more reps. That's kind of what your brain tells you that. You're like, dude, just go for it. You're already here. This is what you want to do. This is what you may as well just kind of lay it all out on the line. So it can be kind of an amplifier of that. I think one of the dangers is that a lot of people try to utilize these TRT clinics and these clinics to lose weight. And it can be a good strategy. If you're 40 pounds overweight, there's a lot of things they can offer. They can look at your blood work, and there's semaglutide, and there's like a lot of options in terms of assisting you with losing weight. However, I just personally think, and I'm the guy who's been on stuff for a long time, over 20 years now, so it's coming from me, so take it whatever way you want, but I would really love to see people ingrain some habits first. I think if you get your habits connected and together first, you'll have so much better results with the things that you may want to do down the road with the TRT clinic. I still think you should use a TRT clinic. I still think it's good to get all the blood work done and make sure that you're not really way behind. Make sure your testosterone levels aren't really low. And if they're kind of normal, see what you can start to address on your own. Can you start to put your phone away before you go to bed? Can you get some sunlight every morning? Can you do a little bit of stuff that gets your heart rate increased over 100 beats a minute for 5 minutes at a time? Can you develop some habits with lifting if you haven't developed these habits? If you have those habits in place and you just want to amplify and you just want to be a little stronger and be a little leaner and have a little bit more muscle mass, if you have those habits already, then I think that's where you would say, I think I'm just going to go for it.
Power Project family, how's it going? Now, we've talked about blood work and getting your labs done on this podcast with many different guests, as that's super important for understanding what's going on underneath the hood. That's why we've been partnered with Merrick Health for such a long time now, owned by Derek for more plates, more dates. With Merrick Health, you can get yourself the Power Project panel, or you can select any specific labs you want to get. And after you get that done, you'll be able to work with one of Merrick's patient care coordinators, where they'll help you understand what type of nutritional, lifestyle, hormonal, or other type of interventions you can utilize to help fix whatever might be going on underneath the hood. Merrick is your one-stop shop to make sure that everything is going well underneath the hood. Andrew, how can they get their blood work done?
Yes, we have two options for you guys. Head over to marekhealth.com/power project. That's MAREK health.com/power project. There you guys will see the Power Project panel that Nsima was just talking about. And at checkout, enter promo code Power Project to save $101 off of that panel. Now, if you want to custom select your own panel, you guys can use promo code Power Project 10 to save 10% off all labs. Again, that's at marekhealth.com/power project. Links to them down in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
And Mark was a little bit light on the habits there, but like, you know, are you getting enough sleep every single night? Meaning like, okay, you're getting enough sleep. Are you drinking alcohol before bed? That'll fuck with your sleep. And if that's like a lot of guys have the tendency to, especially younger guys, they have a tendency to drink, you know, drink beer, drink whatever, because it's kind of cool. But that will fuck up your sleep. That'll fuck up your recovery. That'll ultimately fuck up your testosterone.
Mess up your food too, because you're drunk maybe. You had too many drinks and then you just want to eat whatever.
Are you smoking too much weed? Because weed will give people the munchies. And although it can help people relieve stress, if you end up eating way more food, and
that would be so bad for me. I already have the munchies.
Oh, dude, the munchies are wild, dog. Actually, you know what's interesting? My girl, she smokes, but her head is wired so weird. She doesn't smoke a crazy amount, but when she does, she tells herself, "I'm a bottomless pit anyway, so why would I eat?" So when she smokes, she doesn't eat. Whereas like I smoke, I want to eat everything.
Have you guys eaten stuff on mushrooms before?
It doesn't feel good.
It doesn't feel good, and the flavor, there's no flavor to stuff.
Yeah, I
Really?
You can't get anything from the food. You like keep shoving it in your face, doesn't do anything. You're like,
Just
fuck.
adding more salt to it.
I just get nauseous if I eat.
There's all that too. Yeah, your stomach gets all wacky. It's weird.
Yeah.
That's what happens to me anyway.
It's been a long time since I've done shrooms. When we just quickly, we're coming back to test, guys. But when was your last mushroom trip?
I haven't had mushrooms in a little bit.
Yeah,
it's been a long time for me, actually. I haven't even microdosed.
Yeah, same. Isn't that cool though? Like, isn't that so cool? Like,
It's cool enough for us to all do some right now.
It's like an actual trip. You know, it's like, I don't know if I want to go on that trip. You know what I mean? Like, you don't always want to go on the trip.
Yeah.
So you're like, I'm good for now.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to dance with the devil today. I'm just gonna hang out here. I did want to mention something about Mark saying like when you're finishing up a set and you're like 5 more reps. Yeah, I definitely felt like I had more capacity to do stuff, like in general, like whether it be the gym or like outside of the gym. I remember leaving here and having a hard time getting home because I'd be falling asleep, especially if there's traffic. I would be dozing off on the freeway way too much. And, you know, based off of like statistics and stuff, like that's way more dangerous than drinking and driving, is falling asleep behind the wheel. And that was me. Now, was it because I had to fix my sleep? Is it because of this? Sure. I definitely have improved my sleep since starting TRT and stuff. But when I got on TRT, that wasn't happening as much. It definitely happened in the beginning. And I remember kind of complaining to my doctor, being like, "Hey, dude, I'm at the dentist right now and I'm dozing off like as they're working on my teeth." And he's like, "Oh, that sounds like a good idea to catch a nap." That sounds pretty good, actually. And I'm like, "Oh, I was kind of hoping you'd give me something else, something a little extra dosage or something." He's like, "No." He's like, "Just be patient." He's like, "We'll find the right dosage." And sure enough, my dosage just came down. I think I'm at like 140 right now, but it's kind of, I don't know. When people are like, "Oh, I'm on 125," I'm like, well, like, are you really that perfect when you pull the syringe back?
Yeah, right.
Like, because I'm at 140, but some days it's like 150. You know, like it varies because it's impossible to get it perfect. For me personally, I can't figure it out.
Yeah,
I get pretty good, but not great. So anyway, it didn't change that right away, but over time, I feel like my capacity to do more things got better. I was always really good at like working on stuff as is, but then the capacity of like the energy levels towards the end of the day would just diminish like crazy. And now when I get home, I am not going to lie, like I do feel a little bit beat after we had like 2 podcasts in a day. You know, your brain is kind of like fried after a little bit, but I can still get home and play with my son, you know, and it's not like a chore for me. Because I'm just like, I'm pretty amped up because I get to see my son and I have the energy and I have the capacity to be there for the family. Whereas sometimes before I'd, you know, doze off on the couch and kind of feel like shit afterwards.
Guys, if you're listening, if you are on TRT, like actual TRT, comment below how if it's maybe benefited you or how it's changed your life or how it felt when you got on. And do you think there's ever a point that you would get off? Because we've talked about like, is there a reason to get off if you get on? And I wonder about that because with everything going on with the DA right now, and this thing that's going on where it's like some people may not be able to get TRT from any of these hormone clinics, right? Would you be able to manage? Are your habits strong enough? Because all the things we've talked about, nutrition, sleep, sunlight, things like, think about what a cold plunge, for example, does, or taking a cold shower. You do that, but then you feel really good because you did something hard. Now you have more motivation to do hard things during the day. That's something that can boost you in the right direction. And there have been some people that have mentioned that it has beneficial effects on testosterone. All these habits we talk about will help you go from maybe potentially 400 to 600 or 650. So there might be a case where some people, maybe you don't necessarily need it anymore. Maybe it helped you out, and now you're able to do a lot of those things on your own and feel as motivated. I wonder about that.
I also have like some concern over people that don't have good habits, just taking stuff and then, just still eating like haphazardly. Like I worry about people's blood pressure. Blood pressure is a big one. Like people like, oh, my blood pressure is like a little high. That's a pretty big concern. Like your blood pressure, what happens to people when they take testosterone is it can, first of all, it can increase your overall body weight, which can increase your blood pressure to some degree. It can make you hold a little bit more water for various reasons. That can increase your blood pressure. So having like a little bit more body weight, being a little stronger, lifting more weight, obviously those are things that temporarily make your blood pressure go through the roof. But the big concern is like your blood pressure goes up, your red blood cell count might go up. So your blood pressure's high, and your blood is now getting thicker, which is a recipe for disaster. And again, most likely these things are not going to happen on any sort of TRT dosage, and probably anything under 200 milligrams. I mean, I don't know for a fact, but I'm imagining for most people, anything under 200 milligrams is probably going to still be fairly safe. But if your testosterone levels have been low for a pretty long time and you're overweight and you have bad habits, everything's just kind of going to be like amplified. You can kind of think of it in terms of like everything that you eat is going to like stick to you more. It's kind of a weird way to word it, but you'll get bloated. I mean, we've seen people get bloated. I used to be extremely bloated. I would get extremely red, extremely purple. Your blood pressure gets wild, it gets crazy, and it's just something to be cautious of. It's something to pay attention to. Now, if you have goals of being a pro bodybuilder, if you have goals of being a power lifter, then you make those you make the choices that you make, and you do the best you can to have the knowledge to make sure that you're doing things the safest way, I guess, that you possibly can.
You know what, though? For people in those types of situations, like, for example, I've gone back and watched some old podcasts where you're speaking, right? And like your breathing was more labored. And like nowadays, you don't hear you don't hear that when you talk. And that's because your breathing's better. You've been nasal breathing. You're sleeping better at night. Everything's more controlled, and you're running. So one thing I think is that if you do end up going on testosterone, right, whether it's a replacement dose or more, I think there are still things that people can do so that they don't end up with sleep apnea and they're not breathing through their mouth all the time and they're not compromised in that way. Because when someone's super red and they're bloated and they're like that, they're labored like that, that's not good. I don't care if you're trying to get as strong as possible or a bodybuilder. There are things you can do when you're lifting. If you can just breathe through your nose, right? If you can try to breathe through your nose when you sleep, there are things you can do so that you can your set operating isn't labored, right? So I think that's really simple to fix.
I agree.
Yeah, I always so like when you guys are talking about the habits and stuff, I joke and I say do both. Like start getting the habits in line as you kind of pin a little bit. I don't know. I want your guys' opinion on that, because like even for someone like myself, I was already doing all of it, but then adding testosterone made me do all of it a little bit better and a little bit more. Can somebody say, I understand I don't have all the right habits. I understand my diet could get cleaned up. I will start on Monday when I start injecting testosterone. Is that a good idea?
I would like to see people develop at least some of the habits, at least get halfway there on some stuff. I mean, You know, if you really give a fuck, like you should be able to string together a couple weeks of doing some of these habits to some degree or some extent. The main reason why you want to develop those habits is because you also want to try to get the most out of what it is that you're doing. Like these things aren't free, right? There's a cost associated with these things. And just imagine like you're on 6 months of TRT and it doesn't look like anything happened. I mean, if you're the same body weight, like if for most people, for a lot of people, they need to lose body fat, right? And if you're 230 pounds when you get on TRT and you stay 230 pounds, yes, there could be like a little shift of like you gained a little muscle, maybe dropped a little fat, and maybe there's some, but like it would be nice if you got to like 215 while you were on stuff, you dropped like pretty significant amount of body fat and you put on a little bit of muscle. I think that would be, in my opinion, that would be the goal.
Yeah. You know, like you mentioned, Mark, earlier, a lot of people have different starting points. Maybe for someone who's older, like, again, I think young guys got to be careful with this shit. There's so many things you can do to move in the right direction. But if you're older and you're overweight and you've been doing things, but you've never been able to stick on, maybe it is the thing that gives you that motivation to move in the right direction. And I ain't judging no one for that. But I do think, like, knowing, for me, how I personally feel, and I've felt for a long time, just because of all the habits that we've continued to ingrain over the years, I feel great, right? And I think that if somebody can just start moving the direction of fixing their sleep, maybe if you're overweight or whatever, you have a bad food habit, picking up some fasting, picking up the habit of exercise, taking walks, getting outside, these things add up. They make a really, really big difference. That's why, I mean, at this point, I don't see any reason why I'd use test. I mean, it would help me recover faster. I know that for a fact, but it's like, I recover well already because I have great recovery habits. All these things that I'm doing without test make me feel so good that I'm like, if people can just ingrain these habits and you don't need to pay money to ingrain the habits, it's just like, it's the simple shit, but you can do it for long enough and you can just stack that up. You can feel really damn good. But a lot of people, you know, because everyone talks about the benefits of testosterone, it's undeniable that testosterone is beneficial. It's hard to be like, you know what, why don't I just do that and then I'll add all this in? Like you said, like wait till Monday, right? It's tough. But I think if you're trying to take tests and you're not doing all the simple things we're talking about, you're shooting yourself in the foot because you're shooting over the bigger things that'll make the biggest long-term difference and going for the short-term fix.
Yeah, because here's the thing, like those habits that we always talk about, like if you really are striving to get a better physique, you're striving to get stronger, and you get on testosterone and you still don't follow those other habits, like you're not going to get anywhere. Like getting into these habits doesn't sound like the exciting, sexy thing, like, right? Jumping on the needle does sound fun. Okay, but if you forego the other things, it's like you're still not really making too much progress, right? You might be able to, but what I'm getting at is if I said, all right, I'm on test now, I can kind of, you know, whatever, the diet goes out the window, I'll train once in a while, I wouldn't be where I'm at. I would be significant, like I'd probably be less than when I did have those habits in line, right? So if you don't want to do the habits and all that shit right now, and you want to just jump on test, it's still, it doesn't matter. Like you're still going to have to do both.
You have to change who you are. Like you said that so well, because it's like, you think testosterone or hopping on more test is going to change who you are. No, you need to change who you are first. It's like testosterone isn't going to make you a different person. Right. You've mentioned this before. You've become a different person over the years. I've become different. Like we have literally changed who we are with a lot of the habits we do. And if you don't change who you are and you're just like, I'm going to get on some test and that's going to do it, that ain't going to do it, baby.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the like proudest things, like or one of the things I've done that's made me the most proudest is saying like I'm a different person now. Like if you talked to me 6 years ago, 5 years ago, about 5 years ago, I was just a completely different person. I spoke differently, I walked differently, I felt pain differently, I guess if you want to say.
Yeah.
Like, I was a completely different person, and that's not because of the testosterone, but it's because of all the habits that we're talking about, that we talk about daily on this podcast. Yeah.
And I would also say, again, back to like if your levels are low, you know, if you get your blood work done and your levels are low and you're not very motivated and you have a laundry list of habits that aren't great, that'd be another candidate for someone to, probably go on that. Probably listen to your doctor and see what the TRT clinic says, and it'd probably be a good idea to follow their advice, because once you get your testosterone boosted, now you're at least in a healthy range where you can be encouraged by the things that you're doing. Be excited about the things that you're doing. It's hard to be excited every day about stuff when you're when the hormones in your body aren't all facing in the right direction.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, we see this happen with people time and time again. They get depressed, or they get kind of run down, or life beats them down. Things kind of get in the way. But for the people that have the habits, things don't really get in the way. You know, they could have really crazy tragedies happen within their family, and they still find ways of getting in what they think they need to get in, because if they don't exercise, if they don't eat properly, they know what that does for their mental health. And I think that's one thing about testosterone that's not talked about enough. I actually would love to get a few people on here talking about this more, but testosterone can impact mental health tremendously.
Yeah.
It really, really can. I think it, to some degree, could be like a psychiatric medication. It's so powerful. Maybe there's still more that needs to be like known about that or whatever. But a lot of men that I've talked to that take testosterone, they say they used to be kind of like bummed out. They used to be a little like melancholy, like just kind of down, and they don't feel that way anymore because they got their testosterone levels up. So again, you have to realize that, low testosterone levels, it's something to not fuck around with. It's not even healthy in a lot of ways. So for your mental health perspective, taking some testosterone can really be beneficial.
Yeah. Again, this is another one of those things where it's a multi-factor thing. The biggest one, in my opinion, is like but it's getting out of my back pain. Like that always held me down. But also before TRT, I didn't have such a positive outlook. Like I wasn't, I was one of those people that would just kind of like a little, not doom and gloom, but like the sky wasn't as, vibrant, like it was kind of gray all the time with a little bit of pokes of sunlight here and there.
Were the pokes testosterone?
And the pokes were right in the glute. Right. Yeah. But I mean, again, like I can't say like, oh, as soon as I got on, I was like, depression's gone, blah, blah, blah. Like it's just multifactorial, but it was definitely one of them, getting the hormones in check. And, I'm not blasting a ton of stuff. Like my levels are right at the tippity top of normal range. They have been way higher, and it's like, whoa, like it's been up over like 2,000.
Did you necessarily feel better being over 2,000 though when you were there?
Yes and no, because that was right at the very beginning. So it was like such a huge contrast from being super low to being fucking through the roof. But I knew that's like, sorry, it's not that I knew that was unhealthy. I just figured like, well, wait, why does it have to be that high? Like, let's just try to get it down to the normal range, which is what I was working on. And that's where I'm at now. It's like 11 or 1,200. I forgot what it actually is at, but that's where I'm sitting, and I've been feeling good, and I don't see any reason to go any higher. Although we've had multiple guests talk about like the benefits of some of the other compounds that or whatever you want to call them, that will actually bring estrogen down, because that's something that everything went through the roof. So did the estrogen. So trying to control that with I forgot which one. I don't know if Deca or whichever one can like lower the estrogen. That definitely seems interesting, but like I don't have a need for it right now. So like I'm just gonna keep riding with it as is.
Paparazzi family, how's it going? Now we talk about meat a lot on this podcast, which is why we've partnered with Piedmontese and have for years now, because they have some of the best beef on the planet. All right, Piedmontese beef has cuts that are fattier in terms of their ribeyes, and they have also cuts that are leaner in terms of their flat irons, but you can get cuts for no matter what diet you're on. Andrew, how can they get their hands on it?
Yeah, head over to Piedmontese.com. That's PIEDMONTESE.com. And at checkout, enter promo code POWER for 25% off your entire order. And if your order is $150 or more, you get free 2-day shipping. Links to them down in the description, as well as the podcast show notes.
How have you gotten out of the trap of, well, this much feels good, so why not do more? And you've done that before, right? But why do you choose not to? Because a lot of people, if this podcast convinces a guy I'm low test and I'm going to hop on some, what do they need to be careful with about like, ooh, more is better?
I think that taking a little bit will go a long way, especially for somebody that hasn't really taken anything before. And there's you are trying to look for like a minimum effective dose. You're trying to look for like, what's the sweet spot? When you drive your testosterone levels up, a whole list of other things are going to be elevated as well. Again, just your overall body weight might increase a lot, which might be the desired result. But your blood pressure will probably go up too. And there'll probably be other things when they look at your blood where your TRT people, though, like if they are people that are knowledgeable, they're going to know what you're doing, and they're going to be like, hey, kind of what's going on with this? What's going on with that? Like they're going to be able to see. And it's also not good for your sex drive. It can get to be really, really tricky, but your sex drive can actually go way up, but your sexual like performance and your kind of ability to like keep it up and your sensory and all these different things can like lower. So how fucked is that? You're so going high with testosterone, while it seems like a good idea and it might be a little fun for a little while, doing it for prolonged periods of time, there's a huge debt to pay with that. So you have to be careful. You need to read up on these things. You need to learn about these things. And there's reasons why, like the old school bodybuilders, they were really smart. They actually would do like an entire stack rather than just taking like one giant dose of one particular thing. They would bring in a couple other things. As Andrew's mentioning, there are things you can take to like mitigate the amount of estrogen, but also don't be a fucking dummy. You can just take less testosterone and then you don't have to worry about injecting all these other things. So if you just take reasonable amounts of testosterone, I would go as far to say, like, you don't really need anything else. Like, there doesn't have to be any ancillary, there doesn't have to be any other product in there other than just straight testosterone when taken in good dosages. And you'll find kind of a sweet spot for yourself. There's always going to be the thing of like body dysmorphia, though, too. There's always going to be, doesn't matter what amount you take or how fucking big you get, you're never going to feel big enough. You're never going to feel strong enough. Like, and these are things, again, you got to work on your habits, right? You got to work within yourself. Is it going to solve anything for you? Is taking this, oh, I want to look better. Well, okay, what's looking better? What's that going to do? Have you walked yourself through this before? Let's start backwards. Let's start with abs. You now have abs. What does that look like? How does that change your life? What did that do for you? Is it having abs that's going to do something cool? You're going to pull your shirt up all the time and show people your abs?
Look at my abs.
Or what? Nsima does that all the time. That's why he's able to do that so well. Right there.
Yeah.
Like
I got $1 for every time I saw that dance.
Right? Well, you would put it in his G-string.
Yeah.
With your teeth, again. But I think, people need to kind of think about this more and think about, what does that mean for me? And is it actually going to make me really happy that I have abs, or am I going to be pumped that I went through this process that I thought was going to be difficult and I got myself into a better spot? A lot of times people that have gotten really, really lean, they're like, no, I ain't fucking with that anymore, because it's like too uncomfortable and too weird. You get like peeled and you get shred, like bodybuilder shredded type shit. The cost of that isn't really worth it. A lot of other people might look at that and be like, damn, like that would be so great to have. And you don't know what any of this stuff means until you start to try to head in that direction. Yeah. And you start to see that, like, oh, that was fucking that's really not that much fun. So you got to kind of walk yourself through a bunch of different questions before you go and just jump on this stuff.
Yeah, for me, it's the minimum effective dosage, just like Mark had mentioned. And I could do all the research in the world, and but unfortunately I'm not like the research, right? Like that research wasn't done on me, so I don't know enough about it. So I'm just gonna follow what's recommended, And then Mark had mentioned that before everything, which was like, hey, just be on a low dose, and you don't have to really worry too much about anything else. So yeah, that's why I don't want to mess with anything. It's working really well. It's why do you put the certain gasoline in your car? I'm like, oh, because it works. And it's like, well, but what if you put high octane or whatever? It's like, well, what is that going to do? Like, I don't know. Like, well, shit, I don't know either. So there's that. And then also, like, I don't I don't love injecting. Okay, I still fucking look at the needles and I still hate it. Okay, I don't I don't think anybody loves it. I know there's a lot of people that will say like, oh, it's just like, whatever, putting on clothes or whatever. It's nothing. For me, it's not nothing. I fucking hate it. And so I don't want to have to do it more. I don't want to have to do bigger injections. I'd rather do tiny little ones that take a few seconds and then be on my way. I don't want to do anything else. So that's the other thing. And then also, like, again, I don't know the long-term ramifications, although it appears that it's very, very safe. But as long as I keep it at a low dose, I should be able to stick around long enough for my son. I'm not quite on the biohacker thing where I'm trying to have no muscle or whatever, but if I can stay away from being bloated and stay away from having high blood pressure, and still obtain muscle mass and do all that sort of stuff, that's where I'm going to hang out.
Dog, in like 5 years to a decade, you're going to see like David Sinclair and what's Bulletproof Man's name? What's his
Asprey, Dave
Asprey. He's going to be like, God, I need to gain some muscle. Probably would have been a good idea if I just gained a little bit of muscle.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, so I could fucking
some
walk.
real strength training goes a long way.
It does.
I think this is a good place to end it. I just want to kind of finish with, don't ever forget the value of training. Don't ever forget the value of like what it does for you to step into the gym and to actually, learn how to lift, obviously first, and then start to put in a good effort. See what can happen. See what can happen for yourself. We've talked about this many times on the podcast. Andrew's new to jiu-jitsu. I'm pretty new to running still. What can things look like if you put in a good effort? Like fuck steroids for a second. Like what will happen when you put in a good effort? What's that going to look like? Put in 60 days, 90 days, 100 days. We know how much you can change in that time period. And if down the road you want to use someone like Merrick Health, which is a sponsor of this podcast, they kind of walk you through the entire thing. They look at your blood work and they go over everything and they pick what's appropriate for you. So if you're someone that's looking for that, I think Merrick is a great place to go. But again, I just want to tell people, like, it's so important to not undervalue training. Training is a huge aspect. It's, for some reason, it's like kind of forgotten about because people always talk about the diet and they talk about supplements and they talk about steroids. And then we kind of forget, like, oh, yeah, I got to train. And not only when I train, I better train like a motherfucker. Andrew, take us on out of here.
All righty. Thank you, everybody, for checking out today's episode. If you guys dug this conversation, make sure you guys stick around for that card to pop up so that way you guys can see some more information about, like, because we've had, a shit ton of people talk about testosterone on this podcast.
The Andrew Huberman episode will pop up.
Okay, there it is.
A lot about testosterone there. He did.
Yeah, because Huberman said. So therefore, you guys should check out that episode. Hit that like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. Follow the podcast at MB Power Project all over the place. My Instagram is at IamAndrewZ, and don't forget to stop by powerproject.live to check out podcast merch and all kinds of cool information there. Nsima, where you at?
Discord's down below, babies. At Nsima Inyang on YouTube, at Nsima Inyang on TikTok and Twitter. Mark.
I'm at Mark Smelly Bell. Strength is never weakness. Weakness is never strength. Catch you guys later. Bye.
Did you just finger the air?
I think that's what I'm going to start doing. Every time we end the podcast, be like,